Congratulations.
I spent my life resisting death, but now I understand. I must embrace it.
Hey guys, what's happening? Niyat here with Film Comics Explained. As requested, today we'll be diving into The Void, the 2016 horror film directed by Jeremy Gillespie and Stephen Kostanski. Starring Aaron Poole, Kenneth Welsh, Daniel Fathers, Kathleen Munroe and Ellen Wong, The Void is a chilling, atmospheric journey into the realm of cosmic horror. The story revolves around a small group in a hospital that find themselves caught in a nightmarish situation. As the characters grapple with personal demons and unravelling relationships, they quickly realize that they're trapped and surrounded by a mysterious cult and interdimensional creatures that defy explanation. At the heart of The Void lies an engaging, suspenseful story that explores the limits of human understanding and the terrifying unknown that lurks beyond our comprehension. In this video, I'll do my best to decipher the unfathomable, exploring the story, characters, the overarching cosmic entity, in addition to the ending.
Nature's futility. I can stop it. A true resurrection.
The Void opens with a man, later revealed to be James, fleeing a rural farmhouse at night. There's an immediate sense of urgency and fear as he stumbles through the woods, pursued by two individuals, Vincent and Simon. The pair catch up to a woman who also emerges from the house, and with a shocking disregard for human life, they shoot and then douse her body in gasoline, before noting that James would not get far. The breakneck opening doesn't waste time in setting a dark and foreboding tone that hints at the terror to come. Adding to the mystery is the sudden arrival of someone in white robes with a black pyramid on the front, observing the pair as they drove off looking for James. Giving a sense of normalcy that contrasts sharply with the previous scene, the film then cuts to Aaron Poole's officer Daniel Carter, sitting in his patrol car on a quiet road.
You still awake?
In the middle of a high-speed chase, so this better be important.
I just feel so good knowing you're out there keeping us safe.
The tranquility is disrupted when a bloodied and disoriented James emerges from the woods and stumbles onto the road. Assuming he was a drunk teenager, Carter decides to take him to the nearest hospital, said to be understaffed and semi-abandoned due to a recent fire. Unbeknownst to Daniel, a multitude of events occurring around him are about to coalesce into a night of unimaginable terror. Arriving at the hospital, Carter is greeted by nurses Alison Fraser, his estranged wife, and Beverly, who place James on a gurney and wheel him to one of the rooms. It's clear the relationship between Carter and Alison is tense, with neither of them having planned on seeing each other again so soon. Carter is also dumbfounded to learn that dispatch had not notified the hospital that he was on the way.
Bev, I need hands up front, bring a stretcher.
Dispatch not call ahead?
What? We can call?
No.
Bev,
We then meet Maggie, a pregnant teenager accompanied by her grandfather Ben in the waiting room. We're also introduced to an intern named Kim, who, instead of helping them pack, decided to freak a patient named Cliff out about how dangerous hospitals were.
You know, statistically, you're more likely to die in a hospital than anywhere else.
Cool. The irony, of course, is that this particular hospital is definitely the most dangerous clinic in the world, for Lovecraftian reasons, which we're about to uncover. Noting that James was freaking out after suffering some sort of trauma, and that their resources were limited, the head of what was left of the hospital, Dr. Richard Powell, informs Carter that they could only sedate him for the time being. Washing James's blood from his uniform, the officer is met by Alison in the break room, who brings him a coffee as a peace offering. While we don't find this out till later, their relationship essentially ended after Alison suffered a miscarriage. Unable to move past the tragedy, the two went their separate ways, but there's still love between them.
You're being friendly.
it's good to see you.
Before they have any more time to talk, Powell arrives to speak with Carter, telling him that he will need to wait a few hours before he could talk with James. The doctor also takes a moment to warmly advise Carter to be easy on Alison and to learn to keep going on with life, explaining how the death of his own daughter had nearly broken him as a person. The film's narrative unfolds at a deliberate pace, allowing for a slow burn of tension that gradually escalates as the characters begin to confront the terrifying unknown, beginning with Carter, who, while walking past one of the rooms, is mortified to see Beverly stabbing Cliff in the eye. Revealing she was also cutting pieces of her face off and exclaiming that it was not her own, Beverly moves at Carter, forcing him to shoot and kill the nurse. With Kim, Allison, and Richard alerted to the noise, Daniel tells them that she came at him before running to the bathroom to throw up. Making it difficult to process what just happened is a weird hallucination he begins to suffer, showcasing a barren landscape with the shape of a giant pyramid emerging from the clouds, a beating heart, to a giant celestial body traveling the cosmos. Waking up to find Allison and Richard surrounding him, he's told that he had a seizure and needed to rest, but explains he needed to tell dispatch what happened.
Look, you are stubborn like your father was now. You should take this very seriously.
I am.
To his surprise, Carter is told that a state trooper had just arrived to help them in the situation. Sure enough, waiting in the hallway for them and taking notes on the events that transpired is a veteran trooper named Mitchell, who is fuming about the death of both Beverly and the patient. Asked how he got here so quickly, Mitchell explains he's here because of James. State troopers essentially found a bloodbath 20 miles north of here, related to James and the two men that tried to kill him at the start. Noting the guy had many prior convictions, Mitchell theorizes James had somehow drugged the nurse, causing her to both kill the patient and injure herself. As a result, he's cuffed him to the bed. Informing Carter he needed his gun, the trooper admonishes him for the choice he made.
You know, Carter, your dad was a stand-up cop. I wonder what he'd think if he saw this shit show.
While believing he made a terrible mistake, Mitchell allows Carter to call dispatch and let them know what happened. When the phone lines in the hospital are revealed to be down, thinking nothing of it, Carter heads to his patrol car to call it in, but still has no luck. It's here the officer spots a man in front of his car in the same white robes and black pyramid we saw earlier. In that moment, a loud siren in the distance goes off as the lights around him go out, prompting the figure to stab the unarmed Carter in the chest with a knife. While he manages to crawl back inside and seek the help of the medical staff, the hospital is then surrounded by more men in robes as Carter passed out. Their presence is both menacing and enigmatic, but it's their unclear motives that leaves a chill in the air. At the same time, not only do Carter's visions continue to manifest, but a shot of Beverly reveals some creature was moving inside of her. This is confirmed when James wakes up and begins to scream that something was trying to kill him. In a disturbing turn of events, Beverly's body begins to grotesquely mutate and reanimate, introducing a new, horrifying aspect to the supernatural phenomena.
God, please! Do something!
After Carter frees James from the room, Mitchell fires a number of shots into the creature before they close the door. Unaware of how to kill the mutated Beverly, and with the looming threat of the cult outside, Daniel formulates a plan for him and Mitchell to grab their cars and drive everyone to safety. But before they can enact this, Vincent and Simon, later revealed to be father and son, arrive, firing shots into the robed figures outside before entering the hospital looking for James. In the ensuing chaos, with Vincent aiming his gun at James, the criminal grabs the pregnant Maggie and puts a scalpel to her neck before killing Dr. Powell, who tried to calm the situation down. Mitchell is then pulled away by the Beverly monstrosity as the dazed Vincent fired a shot into the creature, dumbfounded by what he and his son had just stumbled into. Knocking James out, Ben tends to his freaked out granddaughter as Carter ran after Mitchell. Despite his best efforts, without a weapon, he's knocked into the wall by one of Beverly's tentacles. And in a surprising turn of events, as the monster continued its corruption of Mitchell, Vincent and Simon, who we thought were the bad guys, actually rescue Carter and help destroy both Beverly and the corrupted Mitchell. Still, explaining that they were on a mission of their own to kill James, they threaten to end Carter and Allison when they get in the way.
I want him.
Okay, I think we all agree that we need to get the hell out of this building, right? These personal differences, they're...
While they don't know what's going on, Vincent explains they heard the horn that drew the cult outside here from miles away, and reasons they need to burn the place to the ground. Complicating the situation is the fact that Maggie is having abdominal pain, preventing them from leaving without putting her life and the life of her baby in danger. Stating that they need to prepare for a potential C-section, Allison offers to go to the medical supply room to get everything she needed. Furious that she was putting her life in jeopardy, Carter tells her not to let her personal feelings about what happened to them cloud her judgment. But agreeing they could go together, he formulates a plan for him and the men to run to his car and grab his shotgun. Not only would this enable them to safely travel to the supply room, but it would no doubt be useful in their ultimate escape.
All right, Bill, we're not risking our lives for you. We get that gun, it's ours.
Oh, absolutely.
Abso-fucking-lutely.
It's also important to note how reality is beginning to distort, with space and time warping around the hospital.
I thought you said it was close. It's still out there. Yeah, but what are they waiting for?
Luckily, the men managed to retrieve the shotgun, ammunition, and a few flares, while fending themselves off from the onslaught of armed cultists that begin attacking them. At the same time, with Maggie complaining about having abdominal pain, Allison heads to the supply room alone, where she encounters the deceased body of Powell. Angry that Allison went to the supply room on her own, as Kim tended to the boy's injury, Carter brings Vincent along with him to look for her. Noting that the body of Powell had disappeared from where they last saw it, the pair go past the scene of Mitchell's demise and find the gun that was confiscated. It's here the officer learns that the people that Simon and Vincent had slaughtered at the very beginning were responsible for killing their family, but it's much worse than they could have imagined.
You saw something. I felt it when you woke up. But what was it? I can show you more if you like.
Answering a call from Dr. Powell in one of the rooms, Carter is told a number of horrifying revelations. The loss of his daughter changed the physician on a fundamental level, and the cult outside was composed of members of the community that Carter served, many of whom he knew personally. And not only did Powell now have Allison, but the doctor has morbid plans for all of humanity.
You're trying so hard to follow in your father's footsteps, Daniel. Do you really want to follow him where he's gone?
Finding a container with Polaroids of the cult doing horrific things, an orange door with a black triangle, and a picture of James, the pair return to the others and interrogate the man Vincent tried to kill at the very start. When they threatened to break his fingers if he didn't tell them what was happening, the scared junkie reveals he was lured into a house on the promise of drugs, where Dr. Powell and the cult began sacrificing the addicts and performing experiments to create monstrosities. All of this was done in service to an eldritch entity that promised the deranged doctor and his followers immortality. Guided by Kim over the radio, Carter, Vincent, James and Simon head to the basement, the location where Richard had called them from, completely unprepared for the horrors they begin to encounter in the ever-changing labyrinthine dungeons of the entity's dimension.
Hey, you get to go first. Yeah, right. I'm not asking. Quiet.
The primary antagonist in the Void is an eldritch cosmic being with the power to manipulate reality, control its minions, and warp the fabric of space and time. Inspired by Lovecraft, it is a cosmic horror that exists beyond our universe, seeking to enter our realm by using Dr. Richard Powell as a conduit. The characters struggle to survive and navigate the ever-shifting reality created by it, encountering disturbing hallucinations and terrifying visions. While it's never occupied our dimension, the cosmic being is getting damn close, pushing the characters to the brink of sanity to gain access. From what we see in the film, the entity appears to have a wide range of powers, many of which seem to defy the laws of physics and human comprehension. It has the ability to manipulate reality on a local scale, warping the environment within the hospital and creating a labyrinthine structure filled with frightening visions and impossible geometry.
Just wait.
This is your fault! You should have protected them!
It can seemingly invade the minds of its victims, inducing terrifying hallucinations and preying on their fears and insecurities. The entity is also responsible for creating the grotesque and terrifying creatures our heroes begin encountering. These monsters, once human, are the results of Dr. Powell's experiments as he began merging flesh and matter from beyond our universe. In fact, hoping to end their suffering, many of the creatures were responsible for the fire that destroyed much of the hospital. The Eldritch entity also exerts a strong influence over Dr. Powell and his cult, convincing them to perform dark rituals and gruesome experiments in its name. In a power connected to its high-dimensional nature, the entity seems to be able to manipulate or create portals or gateways between dimensions, allowing it to bring its creations into our reality, whilst also transporting its victims to other realms.
Oh, man.
The night Allison lost your child, I saw relief.
The entity is also described as being immortal, unaffected by conventions of time and space, a power that was coveted by the cult. But this begs the question, is the pyramid the entity that is responsible, or is there something else going on here? The true nature and purpose of the Black Pyramid are not explicitly explained in the film, but based on the film's themes and imagery, the Black Pyramid could be a focal point or conduit for the entity's vast cosmic power, amplifying its abilities and allowing it to manipulate reality, create monstrosities, and open gateways between dimensions. A bridge or nexus between different dimensions, including the entity's realm and our universe. It could be a temple or stronghold for the entity and its followers, a place where dark rituals are performed and its monsters are housed, like a base of operations for the entity's attempts to infiltrate and conquer multiple realities. Alternatively, the Black Pyramid might be a prison designed to contain the entity and keep it from escaping into other realms. Or it could merely serve as a potent symbol of cosmic horror and dread, embodying the unknown, the incomprehensible, and the terrifying aspects of the entity in its realm. With all that said, I think that the entity symbolized by the Black Pyramid is heavily inspired by Azathoth, the nuclear chaos, a monstrous primal cosmic deity that rests at the heart of all existence in Lovecraft mythos. Azathoth is a perpetually slumbering behemoth, kept in check by the ceaseless drone of alien flutes. The embodiment of chaos, it's depicted as an amorphous, writhing mass brimming with indescribable horrors. Its sheer alienness and inscrutability resonate with Lovecraft's central theme of cosmic horror and existential dread, positioning Azathoth as a symbol of the unfathomable vastness and indifference of the cosmos. The entity in the void presents a striking number of similar characteristics. Both Eldritch cosmic beings defy human comprehension, representing realities and concepts that stretch far beyond the limits of human understanding and act as agents of chaos and disruption. The entity is also introduced as a being that predates time itself, mirroring Azathoth's portrayal as a primordial entity that exists outside of time in Lovecraft's universe. We also witness the entity unleash death and chaos, distort reality and spawn grotesque creatures, much like Azathoth's chaotic influence on the cosmos. With all that said, what can be agreed upon is that the effects of the Eldritch entity in the void are unfathomable, chaotic, and intrinsically transformative.
We're in hell.
As the men lose contact with Kim and the others over the radio, the intern realizes they've entered a section of the building below the basement that shouldn't exist. And technically it doesn't. Well, not in our reality. It's basically a space between our realm and the resting place of the entity, through which it hoped to travel. With all the medical staff dead or missing, Kim is also forced to prepare for an emergency C-section to save Maggie and her baby. The second half of The Void is where the film truly descends into the realms of the grotesque and otherworldly. As the cosmic horror unfurls, the narrative takes increasingly surreal and disturbing turns, testing the sanity of the characters. The narrative structure becomes more fragmented and hallucinatory in this half, mirroring the character's disorientation as the entity becomes more powerful in our dimension. The cinematography and special effects reach their zenith in these latter scenes. There's a certain grandeur to the film's depiction of the otherworldly horror, with the Black Pyramid and the entity's realm serving as stark, haunting visuals. The practical effects also maintain their grisly impact, with the creature designs becoming more intricate and horrifying. Blitz Berlin and Menelon's score then take on a more sinister tone, complementing the story's descent into cosmic horror. The haunting melodies underscore the film's sense of despair and inevitability, enhancing the void's chilling atmosphere. To complement this, the pacing becomes more frenetic, reflecting the escalating stakes and horror. Yet the film still finds moments of quiet amidst the chaos, allowing the characters and the audience to process the sheer magnitude of their predicament. Finding bodies in various forms of decay, and creatures that attack and kill James, Daniel, Vincent and Simon are forced to contend with visions of their families and life, as the past, present and horrific future blend together. Unfortunately, with Ben begging Kim to perform a C-section, Maggie, who'd been hiding his secret the entire time, surprises them both by cutting his throat. Turns out she was part of Dr. Powell's cult and had been carrying his child, an abomination of otherworldly matter and human flesh. Meanwhile, as the guys look for Allison and the doctor, hoping to get him to stop the cult, Powell reveals his rationale to his now paralyzed nurse.
Don't bother. You won't be able to move.
Richard,
Be patient. I'm almost ready.
what is this? I saw you die.
He explains the loss of his daughter's life and the years of operations he performed compelled him to find a solution to death itself. In fact, given how Allison's son had died in the womb due to his umbilical cord getting stuck around his neck, he wanted to give her the gift of immortality and new life. With the cult invading the hospital, readying themselves for the next stage, Kim manages to hide in the cabinet while visions and nightmares plague the guys in the maze.
I wasn't there. You should have protected them.
Your mother wants us to stay.
Here, Vincent momentarily turns on his son after seeing his dead wife and infant child, yelling that Simon should have protected them before coming to his senses. Daniel also eventually finds Allison laying on the operating table, seemingly pregnant, but when the illusion is broken, he sees tentacles erupting from her stomach, indicating Powell had transformed her, and so wanting to end her suffering. Carter kills her with his axe before finding the Doctor in a weird room with an illuminated triangle that served as a gateway between realms. Here, Powell offers to let Daniel join him, promising the child he lost if he was willing to die and be changed. But when he refuses, he's stabbed in the back by Maggie, who arrives and gives birth to a horrific monster that chases after Vincent and Simon. Although it manages to overcome Vincent and begins forcing tentacles into his body, he manages to pour flammable liquid on himself, prompting his boy to set them both ablaze and look for a way out. With Powell's incantations opening the triangle and revealing a void of light, Daniel is offered one last chance to join him and have everything he wanted.
I can give Allison to you. That's what you want, isn't it? All you have to do is let go.
Knowing there was no way out for him, but believing he could still save the lives of everyone in the hospital, like a top G, Carter attacks him instead, tackling the Doctor and pushing them both through the void before the ceremony had been completed. And with the space between the hospital and the other dimension beginning to collapse, Simon is chased by the charred remains of Powell's monstrous daughter. Luckily, he manages to crawl back to the hospital entrance, as the creature is crushed by the sudden closure of the portal. Thrilled to find that Kim had survived, the pair exit the hospital at dawn, having just witnessed the most terrifying things humanity had ever been exposed to. The narrative then ends in the desolate void where the Black Pyramid resided, with Carter and Allison holding hands and gazing at the incomprehensible.
The horror is cosmic and it's so big, you can't really wrap your head around it.
Most people thought we were just nuts. It was incredibly dark, and a lot of people were just afraid of it.
The Void is a disturbing, unforgettable journey into the unknown, a testament to the power of practical effects, and a love letter to cosmic horror. Aaron Poole excels as the tormented Daniel Carter, navigating the film's escalation into madness with a compelling mix of stoicism and determination in the face of death.
Read the screenplay, it went from kind of monster body horror into existential horror. Like it gets inside your psyche and threatens your soul.
Kathleen Munroe brings a balance of vulnerability and resolve to Allison, giving the audience a reason to root for her as she navigates the film's increasingly dire circumstances. Ellen Wong was especially great as the young, inexperienced hospital intern that goes from not being particularly interested in anyone to a person that can be depended upon.
I watched the trailer and pretty much knew that this was going to be really awesome and cool, right? There's so much that goes on in this film. All of us, like as a cast, we've all had to create a meter of how much we are freaking out.
The cast really took it upon themselves to do their homework, add nuance to their characters.
The cast came together beautifully. They were such a dream.
And they really gelled with each other, too.
The supporting cast, including Grace Munroe as the pregnant teenager with a dark secret, Kenneth Welsh as the sinister Dr. Richard Powell, and Daniel Fathers and Mick Biscoff as the vengeful father and son, also provide compelling performances, truly making The Void an ensemble picture.
It's like on a movie like this, you got action and all kinds of shit happening, and so to have people actually coagulate into a little family is really nice.
It must be said that The Void's atmospheric horror is bolstered by the gun-ho commitment to practical effects and evocative cinematography.
I like the idea in horror of sort of the unknowable, and I like the idea of building a story around that.
I think it's going to be really distinctive.
It's the trippiest and scariest horror movie I can think of.
The film's creatures and gore effects are expertly crafted, lending a visceral quality to the horror that CGI often fails to capture. Directors Gillespie and Kostanski, both having backgrounds in special effects, showcase their talents with a series of grotesque and unsettling creature designs. The visuals are further enhanced by the eerie, claustrophobic setting of the rundown hospital. Dimly lit and with an eerie atmosphere, it underscores the vulnerability and isolation experienced by the characters.
There's this servicing of the genre and of the incredible effects. It's not at the cost of any of the characters.
The cinematography is equally effective in creating a sense of unease, with tight shots and dark shadows that leave the audience feeling claustrophobic and uncertain about what was happening around the corner. What I really love about this film is that The Void takes its time to build a sense of foreboding and uncertainty, allowing us to become immersed in the story and invested in the characters. This measured approach pays off, as the horror, when it finally arrives, is both shocking and emotionally resonant. The film presents an existential horror that goes beyond the visceral, tapping into our primal fear of the vastness of the universe, the insignificance of man in the face of cosmic entities, and the terror of the unknowable. The entity's realm, a vast dark void, serves as a chilling visual metaphor for these themes, with Allison and Carter being able to do nothing but look on at the pyramid for what we can only assume is eternity. While the ending is appropriately bleak in line with its influences, It does feel somewhat abrupt. Nonetheless, it doesn't detract significantly from the overall impact of the film. The music composition is another feather in the cap for this movie. The score is haunting and atmospheric, perfectly complementing the film's visual aesthetics. It contributes significantly to the eerie ambience, becoming a character in its own right. However, the real standout of The Void by far is its practical effects, transporting me back to the unrestrained body horror of the 80s.
So they had all sorts of drawings and animations, and so I had a look at that and I went, okay, this is not just a horror movie.
The special effects team is bananas talented. You don't really have to do anything but react to what you're seeing. It's not hard to feel terrified.
With strong performances, striking visuals, and unnerving atmosphere, The Void is a captivating descent into a universe of madness.
She's a mother. Isn't she beautiful?
With that said, that's all for today, folks. A huge thanks to everyone that requested we finally explore The Void. Don't forget to hit like and subscribe if you enjoyed the video, and if there's anything else you'd like for me to cover, please don't hesitate to ask. As always, it's been a pleasure. Niyat here with Film and Comics Explained. Thanks for stopping by.
Place my daughter into this vessel.